This daggum thing, I don't freaking understand what in the world was going on with it. Hey guys, welcome back. So finally able to start doing videos after a good month and a half pause due to the lack of my computer. It had went sour on me sometime back, about a month and a half ago. So wound up having to pull some strings and try to make things happen. And I gotta give a shout out to the guy that worked on it, old Ken. He helped me out quite a bit on being able to make things happen with this. Gotta give him a big old thanks about that. And I am going to be first project back, going to be working on making a Bible cover, and I've already got the main piece cut out. This will primarily be stamping video with a little bit of extra detail, so if you guys want to stick around and watch and see how this turns out, freaking awesome. If not, you can just skip on through and watch at the end. So, quick detail on this. Typically, what I'm finding out, because I did a previous one on the one I read it through the most. This particular one is one I keep in my truck. What I learned on the other one, well, I've known it. It's just I goofed up on the last one. Whenever I go to measure this up, I use a rope tape, and I get the measurement from the edge, all wrapped all the way around to the other edge, and then from there I add an inch on that measurement, and the same for your top to bottom. I add an inch, and that is to give me a half an inch each edge. And whenever I did the last one, I had it in my head half inch per edge. I just simply had half an inch. So whenever I did the measurement, I just simply added half an inch instead of a full inch, which of course in turn only gave me a quarter inch per edge, which really made things tight on that. So whenever you go to add measurements onto your measurement for something like this, make sure you get the right one or you'll goof it up. I was able to salvage that one. If you watch the short for it, it'll be on the page, on the channel page, in the shorts area. So, I haven't exactly decided how I'm wanting to do this. I want to stick with the floral type deal, but what I'm planning on doing, I can't remember when I got this, but this was from a Tandy's deal. As you can see, this is all Tandy stuff here, and this was from years back. So I'm going to use this for the spine. I'm going to drop it in the spine like that, and have the CSB, which is what this Bible is, Christian Standard Bible. I'll have that stamped in here and draw out this floral, and I'll be overlaying it using the transfer, using wax paper. Hopefully this works. I haven't used wax paper in the past, so I'm hoping to lightly do this, and hopefully my stenciler will not tear it up. If not, if it does seem like it will, this is my stenciler, and the little ball on it broke off sometime back. If this winds up tearing it up, I'll just end up trying to use the bladed end, which is not sharp. So I'll try to end up using that to stencil it on, and go ahead and start from there. And then on the main cover, I'm going to try to do a floral of some sort. Last one I did, I had free-handed it, so I'll probably end up doing the same thing here. If not, I'll just see what I can do. So let's go ahead and start laying out and go from there. Alright, so I went ahead and got it all traced out on this wax paper. As you can see, maybe I have it outlined as well. I know I had, with this, I know you have to find, since this is going to be on the spine, I needed to find center, and I made the center mark. That way I could center this up, the paper template up, and marked out the outline, because that was the only thing I did not mark out on this. So this way I know I can get this pretty well lined out and get it pretty daggum close to where it needs to be for the most part. I'm afraid Oh, maybe not. I already wet this down. Hopefully I don't move the paper too much and wind up goofing up the layout. Now just a matter of tracing this out and getting it moved. This doesn't seem to be causing any issues with that tip being broken off. I just gotta be very, very gentle with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this done up real quick, and I'm going to get started on doing all this the stamping and whatnot. Alright, so got it all marked out there, and you can see this is where the CSB H Holman HCSB is going to be up here. I'm going to go ahead and use my swivel knife and go ahead and set this border, and that way this can give me more of a defined edge here. That way it just makes it a little bit easier for me. It took some time carving out. It's about day's end, so I'm gonna go ahead and get some lettering across here and go ahead and call it a night for tonight, and I'll come back to this tomorrow, work on getting the borders done up and start actually doing this part. So while I'm at it, I need to go ahead and get this going. One thing I learned with these stamps, these letter stamps, you want this outer edge here to overlap the letter that you're stamping next to, just to get it a little bit closer. And I said just ever so slightly overlap it. Whoop, that one's a little twisted, but that turned out pretty good. It's a little bit smaller than what I wanted, but you can still definitely see it. So that's it for now. I gotta jump over to the start running the stamps and start running bevels. So we'll go ahead and move on to that here pretty quick. So these backgrounds, what I'm gonna end up doing is I'll be using a combination of this B701, which is this tapered background. I don't recall what it's called, but it's B107. This background is textured teardrop. I'm using it. It is a A104. This will be primarily for getting the corners, like here, getting around there. This here, I'll be using to set the edges around all the graphics. And this one, I use it occasionally. This is very similar to these B701, except it's a little bit bigger and it's rounded at the end and not squared off. That helps out a lot trying to go around certain radiuses and instead of using a squared off one. So this one here is a B198, this radius one. What I have been doing, setting the borders with this, and then going back through and filling in the void with the teardrop. It's very time consuming. I don't have another way to do it right now, so that's just the way I have to do it for now. So that's one way I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'll just show you guys real quick like the way I do it up. I will go through using a smooth beveler to do up around here, around this edge, to define it that way. I'll go ahead and do that. And this one I am kind of setting it up more on its toe, stuff more flat, so you can drop that edge down a little bit more. So that's what this one's gonna kind of look like. I don't know how well you can see it, but it darkens it up real well. Whenever I use this one, I usually come back with a spoon and kind of smooth it out a little bit. Try to get the ripples out of it. But that is that bevel. Well, what I'm going to end up doing around or this portion, I might only be able to get away with doing this. This is the beveled one, the tapered, I mean, beveled, whatever, however you want to call it. Like I said, this is the way I typically set my edges for this design, and then chase after it the teardrop, the textured teardrop. Alright, so I've got it done here. To the best of my abilities. I might go ahead and try to do some touching up on some stuff. It is done. The beveling's done. The background is done. And now I'm going to be moving on to getting the main portion stamped out here. My wife had actually designed this up for me, and this is her freehand design. And what I'm going to be doing is same way as I did this, using wax paper. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see it. I got it drawn out here. I got it imprinted in. I just got to swivel knife it now. And actually imprinted pretty good. I actually just wound up laying this on top instead of using the wax paper because I started thinking about it. I'm going to be doing a lot of second drawing and whatnot. So, yeah, it's just... I'll be doing more than one time drawing it. So I just laid this on top here and traced over it basically with it a little bit wet. So it actually came out pretty well. Now on to getting this thing wet again and start knifing it and getting it going, because I am ready to get this thing done. I have no idea how to actually done. So this is actually turning out to be a little bit easier than what I anticipated, but it's still kind of difficult. I mean, once you start getting the hang of it, it becomes a little bit easier. But if you wind up having to use this, be careful not to cut yourself, because that's the last thing you need to do, especially if you choke up on it like I am. It becomes a little bit more dangerous that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting this out and get the stamping it. Alright, so lettering's done along with the carving. Everything else is going to be very similar. Well, pretty much all the other tools are going to be the same that I used over here. I'm going to do a little bit of working on this. This is going to take a while, so I want to see how this turns out. I'll probably do a little montage here pretty quick, so let's go ahead and get to it. Alright guys, so I want to correct myself on something that I've been doing for, well, ever since I started tooling. Now, the way I have been doing the stamping here is I would just simply saturate the surface and then just go straight into tooling. And well, I've been having issues coming up about my stamps starting to bend. So this beveler I have bent a few times actually since I started on this. Now I have been using a rawhide mallet. I can't remember the weight on this, but I think it's like a 12 ounce or 16 ounce. I don't recall the weight of this mallet. And that's all I've been using. And I still wound up bending this beveler, this B701. But I haven't been bending anything else, even the other beveler or this background stamper, and or whatever the heck this is called. I don't remember the actual terminology for it, but I haven't been bending anything else. I have bent one other tool before in the past, but that was definitely my fault. I was trying to use it in my press, my arbor press, and yeah, that you just don't want to do that. That was silly on my part. But I wound up bending this, and I kept on trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing wrong. And like I said, I've been just simply saturating the surface and going straight into stamping. Now, I was on a Facebook group, of all places, and inquired about why I'm having issues, whether it's just the tool itself or what the deal is. It was brought up that I'm probably doing my saturation wrong, and it was either saturation or I'm just smacking this too terribly hard, which really I don't think I was hitting it too hard. It's really just outside the weight of the mallet is all the harder I had been hitting it. But the technique that I've been doing is actually not necessarily wrong, but different than what a lot of other people have been doing. I'm gonna try to explain what they're doing and what they're doing differently. They're saturating this. They're basically dunking the entire part into water and letting it soak in, or the water soak in, until the bubbles are gone in this, to where it's just completely saturated, completely soaked with water. Let it drip out, and then let it sit and dry for a duration of time until it's just barely starts drying. I don't know if you can see how there's a little bit darker along the edges here, and it's drier in the middle. That's kind of what you're wanting to look for, from the way I understand. Before you start, maybe a little bit drier than this before you start stamping. Did this a little bit here in this beveling on this portion compared to the here. This is the way I was doing it. This is the new way, and I can say that the results are very similar and with less effort on this part. I mean, I am literally just letting the hammer drop onto it, and it's practically the exact same result. So having this completely saturated, completely soaked, it's very easy to freaking mark just with my thumbnail. So I ain't worried about this because this is going to get stamped out, but it's very easy to do up. It is finally done. So this daggum thing, I don't freaking understand what in the world was going on with it. So these two Bibles are practically identical in dimensions, and yet somehow or other this one wound up being nearly a whole inch taller than this one. This one was just generally in small anyhow. But I thought I had fully compensated for it here, but it seems like I overcompensated on height and still was short from spine to front. Because if you look, it still folds over on the sides here. And even though I dry fitted it and it actually fitted pretty good, I think what happened whenever I was doing a little bit of the heat for the mink paste, it shrunk it a little bit more. I don't know. I guess you live and you learn. But nonetheless, this whole daggum project was a pain. It is done. Everything turned out fairly well. Not real sure what happened here. It just, I don't know. If you wound up seeing anything that I did wrong on here, point it out. Anything I haven't hit already. Clearly, I need to work a little bit better on my dimensioning, sizing on bigger projects like this. I need to get that stuff figured out. I know I should go ahead and cut extra and then just size it down afterwards, but I'll figure something out. As always, just gotta pick it up and keep learning. Now, guys, don't be afraid to get out and do something new, do something different. Even if you think it's going to be a challenge, if you really want to learn how to do something, don't be afraid to fail and always strive to try to do better. And yeah, it might get frustrating after a while, especially with it. Like even this, I was frustrated the entire time with this, trying to make this thing, but just try to keep pushing forward and trying to learn new things. So I'm going to go ahead and jump onto the video verse, picking right back up where we left off last time, doing James chapter 1 verses 12 through 18. It says, "Blessed is the one who endures trials, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. No one undergoing a trial should say, 'I am being tempted by God,' since God is not tempted by evil, and he himself doesn't tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when he is drawn away and enticed by his own evil desire. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And when sin is fully grown, it gives birth to death. Don't be deceived by my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. By his own choice, he gave us birth by the word of truth, so that we would be a kind of first fruits of his creatures." And that is James chapter 1 verses 12 through 18. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see y'all in the next one.
Thank you.